that there was a preservation act put on Dinesh John Shervin's accounts, his social media accounts. So that means anybody that ever messaged him, it doesn't matter if you deleted it, it's been preserved. Welcome back to the Ali Shervin Show, where we're going to go over this case against Dinesh John Shervin, aka ThatDaneshGuy on TikTok. Now, there's been an update to the legal complaint. Now, they're claiming that there was 137 direct messages between James McGibney himself and Dinesh John Shervin, and they're asking for Dinesh to hand these over. Now, the importance of that, I'm going to just do a little bit of a sideways move here. The importance of that is it's for discovery. Now, Dinesh, for the past 3 years, and anyone that knows him or knows what he's about, knows that he inserts himself into people's legal matters. Now, he runs around with a couple of, I believe they're property lawyers. They think they're in true crime, but they're not. They're not criminal attorneys. They know nothing about this stuff. Now, the lack of knowledge Dinesh has in all of this is dumbfounding, considering what he's been doing for the past 3 years, acting like some sort of legal expert. And he's very upset that discoveries come around, and he's supposed to... Now, what he's trying to do is he's trying to get out of handing information over. Now, there's a way of logging. You need to log every individual thing that you're trying to get out of handing over, and you need to have a reason as to why, this one message out of 137, this is the reason I don't need to hand it over. He's citing spiritual counseling with James McGibney, which is ridiculous, but he needs to cite that on all the 137 messages. He hasn't done any of that. His pants have really been pulled down. You're seeing how inept he is at this stuff, but yet he's inserted himself into other people's legal problems. They would have had to have done similar shit with their cases that he's basically, pushed the police to charge people in some instances. They would have gone through this headache themselves, and now he's very upset that he has to go through it. The hypocrisy of this man. But I want to point out something here, because there was a rumor floating around. Again, I'm going to make this very clear. I was not told this directly from the plaintiffs or the attorney or anything like that, but it's starting to make sense now. How would they know that there's 137 messages between James McGibney and Dinesh John Shervin? Now, I heard this before. This is probably a year and a half ago. I heard this, and I'm going to tell you guys because it's very exciting, that there was a preservation act put on Dinesh John Shervin's accounts, his social media accounts. So that means anybody that ever messaged him, it doesn't matter if you deleted it, it's been preserved. So that means if it goes into discovery, depending on what your conversation with Dinesh was about, I do believe this is where we're going to see some criminal charges. Like, I'm really hoping this goes to discovery, because I believe there's been a lot of criminality happening in Dinesh's DMs, whether it's cyber stalking, drug dealing, I suspect. That I do think that may all come out, because I believe his accounts have been preserved. That's the only way they would know this information, that there's 137 direct messages between James McGibney and Dinesh John Shervin. Now, I do want to read this part. It's from a website about Preservation Act, the duty to preserve social media evidence, because this has become pretty popular in, the 2020s because of all the shit that has been happening on social media. But there's a very interesting few lines here that I'll read out. The duty to preserve evidence is usually activated upon the filing of a lawsuit, but it can arise even earlier if a party becomes aware of the likelihood of future litigation. Now, I do believe Dinesh did know this was coming. We all knew about it, and I was told back then, before he even got served, that his accounts were preserved. I think he did know that. This means that if there is reasonable anticipation of legal action, parties are obligated to take appropriate measures to protect and retain potentially relevant evidence. By doing so, they can prevent the destruction alteration or loss of evidence that may be crucial to the case, ensuring the integrity of the legal process. So, Dinesh, look, I believe Dinesh will try to delete stuff, but I do believe it's been preserved. Now, there's going to come a time where Dinesh is going to throw everybody under the bus. There is no honor among thieves. It's a very old saying, and it's very true in the case with Dinesh. He does not care about anybody but himself. So if you've been in his DMs and you have been doing illegal things and the hangman's noose, so to speak, comes for you, Dinesh is not going to help you. Now, another part of this complaint, James McGibney is claiming that the server that served Patrick Trainer was harassed. And when you watch the video, the server never identifies themselves. And it just doesn't make any sense as to why someone serving legal papers, which they knew was coming, they want to get the ball. They want to get this show on the road. They want to get the ball rolling. They knew this was coming. Why would they be harassing a server that served legal papers to Patrick Trainer? Like, they're acting as if, like, Patrick Trainer's scared of them, which is not true. Patrick Trainer sued Christian Exoo. And for those of you who don't know, Christian Exoo was Dinesh before Dinesh. He was an Antifa doxxer. He paraded around as if he was doing some sort of good in the world. He was falsely accusing people of being white supremacists, and he bragged about getting them fired and making them homeless. Now, he went to great lengths to cover his identity, and Patrick Trainer and his team found out who he was and sued him, and the library he worked for, and Twitter. Now, Christian Exoo, he was working at a library. They were notified of his actions. They said he's doxing people in your library, and they did nothing about it. And this is why they got dragged into the lawsuit. So when people are notified that these are the actions that are taking place and they don't do anything about it, they too get dragged into the lawsuit. You see how that works? Now, I do believe this Dinesh lawsuit is going to go for some time, and I do believe more and more people are going to get pulled in. I think Savannah Sparks is most certainly there. I think she's going to get pulled in. I think Tizzy Ent may get pulled in as well, because they're private messages between one another. We know that they're behind the cyber stalking. We know Dinesh is behind multiple troll accounts trying to push people to take their own lives, using pictures of people's kids. We've all known that for a while. And I do believe that this is going to come down like a house of cards. When he hands over the information pertaining to the followers he's bought, it is going to be a revelation. I believe this man has bought hundreds of thousands, if not more. He may even have bought 1 million followers on TikTok. I think that's all going to come out. And I think Dinesh's legacy here is the fact that he's one of the biggest social media influencer frauds I think the world has ever seen. I know I've said that in other videos. I do believe that. And, you know, for the people who think that this is the biggest thing ever, it's not. Christian Exoo come and went. You know, he got smashed into the ground as well. Dinesh is going to as well. I don't think it's going to be the big story where the government's involved and all that sort of shit that people think it is. But going over 3 years of content, because I did accidentally delete the Feud Junkie account, so I am re-uploading all my old videos and I am adding a little bit more context to them, like stuff that happened in the wake of the videos, like to these victims of theirs. Like, I've added in that little bit of extra information. But what I've noticed is I predicted so much from the start of this, and I do predict a very grisly end for Dinesh and Savannah. I do think the wheels are in motion. I think that they've done something to somebody and their life is spiraling out of control. There's a lot of these people. You know, when your life spirals out of control and you hit rock bottom, that doesn't happen overnight. Sometimes it takes months, sometimes it takes years. I do believe the wheels are already in motion for that. And I can see them both meeting a grisly end, because somebody is going to get to the point where they have nothing left to lose. And I know they've given it large about having firearms, and Savannah's even said, oh, I'll discharge my firearm and all that sort of shit. These people don't care. You know, they're this close to taking their own life. They'll just take you with them. And I do foresee that. And I have been talking about it for a while because I do predict that happening. Now, look, it may not happen tomorrow. It might not happen for many, many years. But I do believe at some point, Dinesh, Savannah, they're going to fade away into nothing. And then one day we're all going to wake up to a news article that's been written about a moiter, and it's going to be one of these two that's taken place. And this is why I think videos like mine are so important, because people need to understand the backstory as to why it happened. You know, it's not these people were innocent. These people have been psychological terrorists on the internet for years now. You know, doing stochastic terrorism, destroying people's lives based off their interpretation of something that happened in a viral video. And in some cases, just blatantly lying about people. You know, there's been thousands of complaints made to the FBI. The FBI has done nothing about it. You know, Dinesh and Savannah both laugh when people talk about taking legal action because they know how expensive it is. They know these people can't afford it. You know, they've slipped through the cracks. And I do believe that that is going to catch up to them at some point. So I really hope for them the social media clout that they feel they've gotten was worth it. Because I do predict a very grisly ending. And again, you know, I've just gone over 3 years of my content. I haven't redacted a damn thing. And I've predicted so much. I predicted the court case before Jen Couture was ever fucking posted online. I've predicted these things. And I do predict that one. Hopefully I'll see you in the next one.